Making pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific. For about an hour each night, we talk about guns. Thanks for joining the conversation. Got some co-hosts tonight. We've got Cycle Camp jumping in from Connecticut. Thanks for joining.
Hi there, folks. Thanks for the invite.
Always. Dead Horse, thanks for jumping in from Utah.
Howdy.
And that brings us to Dano, jumping in from Illinois.
Yep, glad to be here.
I'm down here in Tucson. So we're broadcasting it on YouTube. We simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. It's a community going on our 5th year now. A bunch of people sit around and talk about guns all the time, create content, and overall just talk about guns, really. And I guess every once in a while we broadcast on Instagram. We're not doing that tonight. And we take the audio from the shows and we throw that up on iTunes. So we appreciate everybody that listens to the show live. That's part of the concept, to have a conversation about guns. But anybody who's listening to the show in the future can be part of that conversation. We encourage you to use the platforms that you're listening or watching the show on to leave us comments, subscribe to the channels and all that. Lets us know you're out there and keeps the conversation going. So today is Monday, and on Mondays we talk about kind of the show itself. We talk about behind the scenes, getting content up onto the internet with the Second Amendment message, and then we look at the calendar of events over on Gun Channels. Before we dig into the show, though, we usually take a break at the beginning to see if anything happened during the day, or in this case, over the weekend. Anything good going on? Folks, dead air.
National news, state news, no. Personal news, I have no cavities.
Right on. Then I went to the dentist.
Yep. Which means I don't have like thousands of dollars to spend uselessly, which is good because now I can really spend them on something else.
Well, you guys all have to go ahead.
I went to a 4-position 22 match at 50 yards and got 4th place on Saturday.
What is 4 position?
Sitting, standing, kneeling, and offhand, prone, sitting, kneeling, and offhand.
Oh, okay.
Rifle match.
Okay. And you're a big fan of prone, right?
Yeah, I hate that. God.
I just remember the look on your face of going, what do you mean I have to go prone?
Yeah.
Dulce, you were not happy about it.
No, us we bulls wobble, so we don't we don't hit the target real well when we're wobbling around on our stomachs. But it was a good match, and we got it in just before it started raining, so it was a good deal.
What do you shoot that with?
That's a 22. I use a Marlin Model 80. An old bolt action 22 with Lyman vernier rear sights and a Lyman 77C or L or something front hooded aperture with a aperture sight in it.
And then what kind of numbers are we talking competitors there show up for a show like that?
Oh, there weren't that many this time. I think I got 4th out of like 6 or 7.
Oh, really? Oh, because the next question I was going to ask what kind of age range, but it's 7 people is probably just a bunch of older guys.
Yeah, I would say it was the youngest guy there was probably in his like mid 40s, and the oldest guy there was probably pushing 70.
Wow. So you think that's going to be kind of going the way of the history books when people quit shooting this stuff? If we would have said there's 30 people showing up and there's kids in there, I'd have a little bit more.
Well, our club isn't that big. We only have about 300 members. And of course, it's the whatever it is law, the square root of the number. And so we've had as many as 10 or 12, and it really, the real problem on a day like that was it was threatening weather, and it looked like it was going to rain any minute. We just got through scoring our targets when the rain let go.
Oh, so it wasn't a typical day.
Yeah, it was not a typical day for us. Usually we would have had 10 or 12 people probably.
Right on. We had a couple of shows over the weekend. We had a band chat yesterday. Our Dead Horse has been doing, I would keep calling you Night Strike, maybe because your icon's white. Anyway, Dead Horse had a couple of show and tells. When was your 556 one? Was that Thursday?
Yeah, that's on Thursday.
We already talked about that, but I don't know if I had a chance to tell you in person that, man, that thing was awesome. I'm super thrilled that you did that one. That was excellent to listen to. Thanks for doing that one.
Yeah, and that'll be continuing next Thursday. That's probably going to be a 3-part episode to get through the whole timeline. And then probably a 4th part just to kind of recap everything. But it's just an in-depth history of the, 556 with the AR thrown in there, and just the whole history really of mainly just that 556 round, how it came about.
Yeah, it was just, one of my projects is the website network, and I had a really elaborate AR-15 site for a while, and I'm planning on putting that back together. So I'm hoping we can work together, and I'll use a lot of your stuff like that to enhance it, because I had a lot of the outlines there to let people know what information was available, but that's an excellent thing to actually send people to actually get information. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, and I'll definitely, we can definitely collaborate and do something. I'll definitely help you out.
All right, well, I guess we can dig into the show this week. We got pretty good coverage with I went through and harvested the emails, a lot of the suggestions from Cycle Camp, thanks for that, and others. So we've got maybe the next couple of weeks, really 3 weeks seeded out with topics. So as we're kind of moving forward here, time's always precious lately. So I'm spending some time on getting the show formatted as we get onto iTunes. It's not a tremendous effort, but it's a little bit of effort. So we're definitely looking for some feedback from people that might be listening over on the podcast on whatever platforms out there. So you can always email the show at dailygunshow@gmail.com. Leaving comments and likes or thumbs up or whatever the little little symbols are there are appreciated on the platforms. That is how the platforms determine what shows to recommend. So for a show just starting out on some of these platforms, it'll help out a lot to have comments and the likes. But the emails directly to us let us know that the podcasts are appreciated. And we have had a couple of positive comments so far, letting us know that people appreciate the live feed going back up to iTunes. But again, always looking for feedback there, and I guess we can move on. So we're going to dig into behind the scenes. We were talking a little bit before the show on a couple of topics. So if you guys want to dig into those again, or if you've got something else, or if somebody out in the audience has an idea for kind of a how-to or that kind of topic. Otherwise, we'll break for a second and feature our member of the day. And this was Dead Horse's suggestion. I think is a great suggestion. I don't think we've featured Rupan before, but active member over on Gun Channels. And I guess you were just in a show with him the other day?
Yeah. And he comes and joins the chats fairly often and hosts his own chats fairly often. And he's a great guy. He has some awesome stories, just really killer stories from the military. And, he puts up a lot of gun videos, working on his guns, modifying, upgrading them. And then not only that, but he's really, really into the Pro 2A fight. And he really, he's one of the most up-to-date guys when it comes to a lot of the anti-gun legislation going through, not only in his own state, but federally. And he's really in check with that. So he's really up on all the details. And he's the only guy I know that he was reading stacks and stacks of just laws these, and I don't know anyone that was actually going through every page and reading those like he was. And so I really appreciate him for getting out that correct info and stuff. And I believe his YouTube channel is just Rupin RX. RUPANRX over on YouTube, and you should definitely subscribe to him.
And
Now, I have a question, and you guys may or may not know the answer, but I'll give it a shot anyway. Is in his icon, he has a picture. Now, I've seen him semi recently. He had his camera on, was doing something or other. He doesn't look anything like the guy in the picture. Is that actually just an older picture?
That was from, I believe he told me that was from like a Halloween party, and he dressed up as, was it like a singer from Poison or something? You know, like a rock band or something. I think he said. Yeah. So
the picture, he's like dressed up, yeah. But I think it's like BJ and the Bear or some shit, or Back to the Future, maybe.
I can't remember if he told me he was a rock star or what it was, but yeah, it's a pretty funny looking picture. You look at that and you're like, wait, what?
It's like, wait, that's the same guy? But yeah, he's a good guy. Brings a lot to the table. Very interesting to talk to.
All right. So as far as topics, then, what are we getting out there?
Well, viewer topics.
Oh, as far as topic to talk about earlier, we can talk about what we were talking off air there.
Yeah, I literally just got in at the last second, so I'll let you guys decide that.
Did we end up talking about newsletters? We started off talking about early watch and the concept of a daily show, having a platform where your daily gives you an opportunity to keep up with things and take care of a lot of topics. Like the reason we do the daily show is so we can hit a gun shop every day, right? If you try to do one of those a week, you're only going to get 50 gun shops a year. So there's certain things like legislation, stuff that can happen quickly, stuff that can come out of nowhere, and having an established channel for daily stuff could be super useful. I think we started with that, and then I was suggesting that doing some sort of a weekly wrap up on gun channels would be interesting, and a daily show would allow like an incremental creation of that. Every day you just added a little bit more to a newsletter. Then on Friday you click send, and then I was talking about maybe trying to automate that, just because we don't have people resource to just sit around doing that kind of stuff, or time. We don't put that burden on anybody. And then I think that evolved into talking about the newsletter a bit and the concept of doing a newsletter, and I don't know where we went from there. Started talking about how many people.
Blogging, I think, was one of the other things you talked about.
Right, and how a newsletter could attract people who write, as opposed to right now, Gun Channels is pretty heavy on the YouTube. We've got some Instagram or photography type of presence, and then of course a live chat presence. And I don't even want to give that to YouTube anymore. Of course, a lot of us have met on YouTube and we use the YouTube, but I think the live chat stuff in real life proves that we'd be chatting no matter what the platform is. A lot of us started on Blog TV anyway before YouTube was even doing this. In fact, some of us started on Quick before Blog TV even happened. So this concept of doing live chats is sort of separate from YouTube and has a life of its own. And we'll be doing this after YouTube dies, and horrible quick death soon with GunTube, right? Because Night Strike can already do that. Anyhow, so yeah, the concept of having other types of medium, other types of content creators over on Gun Channels, and having a weekly or a monthly or some sort of a newsletter would give them a platform, an opportunity to show their stuff, and for people that read that kind of stuff to meet some of the other people or be exposed to some of the other people on Gun Channels. I don't know where we want to take that, or if we want to keep going with that or something else.
No, let's go down. Let's explore that, because I think I think that it can be very attracting for other people, because some people, based on their ability or their situation, what they're doing, like I was saying, there's people who work around heavy industrial equipment who can't watch a video and hear it and listen, but they could sure read something, right? And there's a lot of instances where, you know, you might not be able to watch a video on your phone or whatnot, but you could definitely read a blog or something. And I do that a lot. I read a lot of blogs and a lot of forum posts and stuff like that. So I could definitely see that being very attractive over there at gun channels, and getting a whole new line of people over there, because some people just might not be into video creating or even really watching the videos on YouTube. But reading and writing, that could definitely be their forte. Writing's not my forte, but I do like to read. I can't write very well at all, but I sure like to read. What about you, Dano or CycleCamp? Have you guys ever written any blogs or tried anything like that? About the closest thing I've come is just what I post on my Instagram. Is just a little short, you know, paragraph of kind of like what my picture's about. Like, that's the closest thing I think I've come to blogging.
I mean, I not necessarily a traditional blog, but I spent well over a decade using traditional text forums. And, you know, after going through that and then coming to more of a live audio sort of system, I don't know if I'd be willing to go back as far as a conversation in text format. And the reason why is because, at least, and this is just my opinion, is so much was lost in translation, as well as misconstrued, to where people would misunderstand the meaning of what somebody else was saying, and suddenly it would take a whole new direction that was unintended. Oh
yeah, because sarcasm and humor can be very hard to get through on text, right? Like, I'm really bad at that, trying to convey sarcasm or humor like through text.
And I can in a heartbeat say, no, that's not what I mean, or I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, I meant something else, if it's in a live audio.
Well, you're very well spoken, Dano. So I would think that you'd probably be a pretty good blogger. I think you'd be, and it's not always a conversation, because you're just like blogging about something that interests you, basically, right? So you're talking about a certain gun, telling about it, your experience, whatever, and that's really it. And then usually, like, people will talk about in the comments down below a blog post, but it's really not even. It's kind of a one-sided conversation though on a blog, right? Because it's not like a forum.
Oh no, they're a little different, because you can set up a blog and then have that comment section, and depending on how elaborate and how much time you want to put into it, you can have a pretty elaborate comment section, which, you know, in other words, like, one person can make a comment, but then a person can comment to that comment, but then another person can comment to the first article. And if that's well laid out, you know, that's clear, and that can really encourage conversations about the blog that you started. And a well-moderated blog audience, or whatever that would be called, is where I was getting at when I was kind of what I had in mind here after talking to the people at the Gun Rights Policy Conference last year that showed up for that 2A summit. They have massive followings, and they do that with just a blog. So yes, it's like dissemination of information, but then with immediate ability to comment. And it sounds like I never thought about it, but like you said, there's lots of people that, for whatever physical reasons, are reading instead of doing what we prefer, it seems like. And to address Dano's issue, I don't think we need to. We're not just telling anyone, hey, we're going to shut down gun channels and go reading, you know, go to text only. Just the idea to bring everybody together, if for nothing else, just a newsletter to kind of keep everybody aware of the same news, so that hopefully we can attract the 2A organizations to drop the information down into that channel that we establish, and then a consistent message could get out to the various, you know, video people, the visual people with the pictures, the audio people with the podcasts and the radio shows, and then the readers with the blogs and the websites.
And what I do a lot is, like, you know, if I'm by myself, then I'm like watching videos mostly. But as soon as, like, if I go to a restaurant or something like that, I'm by myself, and I can't really, and I'm not one to wear headphones and all that, so I can't really play a video most of the time in situations like that. So I'm on, like, you know, I'm on different blog sites and different forums and stuff reading. And so I think it's definitely, I still think that's a viable thing, because I still see a lot of forums out there that are pretty popular, like even very specific forums just about a specific cartridge. like those forums are still popping. So they're still very active. There's still a lot of people who are doing their communication and typing back and forth, and you know, that it definitely hasn't gone away. Have you guys seen like a big decrease in forum use or anything like that? Like since YouTube has come on the scene, or do you think that they're even more popular now than kind of ever? Because there seems to be more forums now than ever still. I mean,
I think that YouTube just enhanced them, really.
Yeah, I could see that.
I wonder if it's kind of a mix, because as an example, like I've gone to ar15.com, which has been a long-standing kind of traditional old school forum, and a lot of the information that they have out there is really old. As far as, you know, in internet years, it's really old. And you know, the data is still out there, but I think a lot of those people, you know, moved on to other media. You know, there's still some out there, obviously.
I think the purpose of what people want to get out of a forum versus what they get out of live and YouTube type videos is different nowadays. If I want a how-to, I'm not going to go to a forum. I'm going to go to a live video where I'm going to see pictures and the guy can describe stuff while he's doing it. But if I need an opinion about something, or or like say I don't know what a particular marking on a receiver might mean, I'm going to go to a specialty forum for that, because you couldn't sift through all the videos to find that information. It's better to go to try to find a bunch of experts. So I guess if I'm looking for expert advice, I tend to lean towards a forum. And if I'm looking for just a basic how do I strip this particular gun down, or you know, what kind of experience people have had shooting a particular firearm, or that kind of thing, then I tend to go back to like YouTube or other websites for that kind of information.
Yeah, I agree with you a lot there, Psycho Camp, as far as like the depth of information, because it is exposed to so many people that have, you know, generally older folk that have literally seen it and lived it.
Well, like if I'm researching a new caliber, because I'm looking about going into a new caliber, you know, chances are there might be a caliber specific forum, or maybe a sub forum specific for that caliber. And then I go in there, like recently with the 6.8 SPC, and I go in there and I'm talking to these guys who have been shooting 6.8 SPCs for years, and they're swapping barrels and doing stuff and experimenting with loads. And I'm getting firsthand data and like relevant data and my questions answered, where on a YouTube video, I can ask that guy in the chat or the video I just watched, hey, like, what was your powder load on that? And then he might not ever respond to me. And then, but the people on the forum seem way more eager to help and share their info. And it's more personal. There's a more, it feels almost more personal. There's like a personal communication going on there between, you know, 2 or 3 or even 20 people or whatever on a forum, where when you just watch someone's video and you know, you ask them a question in the comments and they don't respond or whatever, I don't know, it's just a less personal connection. And I don't know, that's just the way I feel about it. Like that's
so you guys have talked about a bunch of stuff. Going back to what Cycle said, I don't disagree with what you're saying there. But I think if you go a little step further, or the next step from there, you're right. When you're looking for specific information, you might go to the internet, which is probably going to take you to a forum, and you're going to be able to browse through a thread or two to get the details that you're looking for. But I think the next step is that more often than not, especially these days, last 5-6 years, there's chances are the detailed information that you seek is going to take you to a specific YouTube video. So they kind of enhance each other. And let's say you go to that YouTube video to find out how to take the wooden part off the front of an AK upper handguard, which is difficult to explain or to conceptualize for some people, but it takes 2 seconds to watch somebody do it, and then you understand it forever, right? But if you're going online to figure out how to gap your spark plugs, you might appreciate going to a forum first and then being directed to that video, because sure, you want to see how it's physically done, but when it comes time to remember what number, 0.0 what now, then a forum again is probably going to be more ideal for, like you were saying with the receiver engravings and stuff. So when you're talking like text-based archives, your forums can't be beat, and some of them have been around as long as the internet, so they've got just massive amount of data, and it's laid out in a way that may not be ideal, but it's certainly familiar with pretty much everyone who's familiar with the internet these days. So in other words, just digging through and finding the data is relatively simple. Search engines can certainly find it, but I think really the ultimate way to go is eventually when we all have our own presences out there, or more people have their own presence out there, and we rely less on the platforms to be our presence and use the platforms to be our means of communications to connect, to bind our individual presence. And then the search engines can again then kind of enhance everything. The videos can enhance everything.
Where do YouTube content creators go when they have a question? So if he has a question on a gun, does he make a video and say, hey, like, answer this question for me that I have about this gun? Usually not. They're usually, I think that they're guys usually going to the forums to get that specific, that's the good thing about forums is you can actually ask a question. Even if it's been, asked and answered 1,000 times before, you can ask it again and maybe get a different opinion and a different, outlook on that the next time it's asked.
Kind of
different people, right?
That's one of those triggers in forums too. People will freak out when you ask us a repetitive question without maybe going to whatever their procedure is, a thread or some kind of wiki or something first.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, we've all had our individual situations or kind of general things, but again, I really think that the internet's going to have both for a long time, and YouTube, I still believe YouTube's going to eventually be less of a big thing, but the video concept will still be out there. If anything, videos will get smaller and easier to push around, and we'll have enhanced ones with the more 360 or the holographic or whatever the next step is, right? Some kind of data encrypted in them.
I would certainly think so, because it goes back to a picture's worth 1,000 words, and that's something that a forum or a blog cannot do.
Well, and a good point though is the medium, because forums are a text media. It's actually easier to find data on the web in a forum, because you can put strings and phrases and say, hey, find me stuff with the string and phrase, and the next thing you know, 5 forum references pop up with that exact phrase or string. Whereas if you're looking on YouTube, if it isn't in the title, the description, or the metadata or the tags, you're screwed. The guy might be saying exactly what you want to hear, but you've got no way to find it.
And that's where the forums are perfect, because
the searchability of forums versus the searchability of videos.
Well, that's why the forums are so ideal, because those human beings that are writing the forums and reading the forums have looked at the videos, and they've done the mental work so that, hey, I'm seeking an answer to this question. Oh, you want to go to this video? Where, like ClicoCamp said, if you go run some of this software like CloverTech has mentioned that lets you enhance your efforts on YouTube, basically unlock some of the metrics, metadata stuff on YouTube so that you can see it right on your screen. I can probably screen share, there's no point, but it'll tell you all kinds of metrics about your video, but you can see that about other people's videos too. And it's not anything private or anything, it's just stuff that normally they don't bother to display. And those include the tags on a video. So you can go up to anybody's video and look at the tags, and some of the most popular, some of the most viral videos are in spite of having the worst tags ever. So like Cycle's saying, you could have some really pertinent information and just be either dumb or lazy or unaware and have the worst tags ever, and you'll never be indexed on the search engines with that valuable data.
But I think that this plays into the point I think you were trying to make earlier, in that very frequently I'll do a generic web search for something. I'll get into a forum, and one of the forum comments will say, hey, and if you want more information, or this is really hard to describe, go look at this video. and they'll shove me over to YouTube or some private website or something. So it's a great jump. It's kind of like using the index cards at a library.
As long as it's not your own video too, though, because like whenever they have a lot of forums have problems with that when you post your own video on a forum, to even if it's to help someone else that asked the question. If you post a video like, oh, I got a video that answers that, here, check this out. They're like, oh no, you're self-promoting and stuff, and yeah.
I thought you meant like send you back to the video that you made. So like, hey, check this guy out, and you go look, and it's your own video. You're like, dang it.
No, they're just a lot of the forums are against self-promotion, so they don't like if you're a YouTuber or something, you got your own YouTube channel, you're not allowed to basically post any of your videos, even if it'll help someone else out. Well, you can post someone else's video.
Well, but honestly, the thing is, most YouTubers ain't forum people anymore, so they don't have to worry about that. Most of the time, it is just audience people that are out there looking and found something useful, and like we're saying, and then was referenced in a.
I like the idea of like a YouTube type thing mixed with a forum. Personally, someone has a question about their gun, they can take an actual video of it, ask the question. Someone can reply with a video if they wanted to, or just in text chat. And but like integrating basically a forum with a video service, so the comment section's more like a forum for that video, like a sub forum or whatever. And I don't know, I kind of like the idea of incorporating the two.
Newsletter. I don't know. For people that are out there watching now that do content, for people that are listening in the future that do content, you can always email us with a reply. But do you do a newsletter? And then for all of us, because we all just exist, do you subscribe to newsletters? Do you allow newsletters to come as a favor or because you have a slight interest? Do you like sit down and read newsletters once a week, or how do you all deal with newsletters? Maybe I'm assuming there's not too many creators wanting to get into it. It's not like a Thursday with Clover. But as far as the other side of that question, how do you guys manage newsletters? Is it something you use? Is it a resource, or is it something that you just deal with? We all get tons of them.
Myself, the people I subscribe to and follow, most people don't seem to do newsletters anymore. At least in my experience, there are a few that do, and I just let them come through because you never know when something interesting might come up. So I just let them come on through and kind of skim through them to see what some of the subjects are that particular month or that particular week. But I've noticed less of them from actual people creating. Now, I'm not referring to the like as an example, like the NRA newsletters or something like that. That's different.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I do get, how many newsletters do I get? I get about 4, I guess, but they're very, very specific content and they're very short newsletters. And the only one that I'm not sure of is I just recently subscribed or supported Hashnazi on Patreon, and part of that is to get his newsletter as part of that. But I haven't seen one yet, so I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. I actually produced a newsletter for my gun club, and it's a major pain in the ass because. Well, because no matter what you do, people are like, why didn't you put this in? Or why did you put that in? Or we didn't get it soon enough, or, it's not timely, or blah, blah, blah. So and we don't really do a lot in the club that really people need to know about. And it's basically the guys that don't have computers that bitch the most because they're looking for information on the schedule and all that stuff. And we have a tendency to kind of say, if you don't have a computer, then you're a dinosaur and you should just go away and die. But, what can I tell you?
Yeah, I don't know how many people out there don't have any computer. I guess you can always print a newsletter and send it to them. So there's that. I mean, if you're going through the effort of making an electronic one, you can just print it. So.
Yeah, but then you got to fold it up and stamp it and label it and send it to an address. And we have 28, I think. There are 28 people out of a club of almost 300 people. There are 28 people who do not give us email addresses, and we have to, anything we send them, we have to send by mail.
Right. But that's because they choose not to be involved, and that's their choice.
Well, some of them choose not to be involved, and some of them honestly don't actually have, they're like, 70, 80 years old, and they actually don't have computers, and they don't want computers, and they don't want to know.
And exactly, they don't want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of wraps it up right there.
Well, I mean, they want to know about what's going on at the club. They just don't want to know about computers, right?
Yeah, and Vanessa, I don't mean a computer per se, but if you don't have, network access, shall we say, if you don't have a smartphone or a laptop or that kind of thing, then you're missing out. First of all, you're missing out on so much information out there on the net, and it is if you get all your news, what the guy used to say, if you don't read the newspaper, then you're uninformed, but if you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. And it's pretty much the same way with mainstream media. I mean, I use the internet to balance off, to get unadulterated news. When I read the big headlines, the first thing I do is jump onto the internet and start, is this really true? Is this the whole story? Can I get to the source information? That kind of stuff.
Let me ask you a question, Cycle. What I'm about to say is true where I live. I want to know if it's true where you live. Is all the libraries in Northern Illinois have an association, and there are computers for public use at all the public libraries.
Oh, sure, but if you're going to do that, then you got to drive to one. But
Okay.
yes, our town has a public library, and it has computers. I don't know I don't recall if they're token operated or not, but and that is just so that people get equal access.
Dude, in 2018, which is I'm pretty sure the year that we're living in, if you don't have a computer at your house, it's not because you can't figure out how to get a computer into your house. You're not like unaware that you can go to the library. It's because you choose not to, right?
Right. And you might be retired on a fixed income, and let's face it, it's not just a device. I mean, you got to get either a data plan on a phone, and that could be $50 or $60 a month, or you've got to have internet brought to your house, and that could be $30 or $50 a month. So some of it is, I assume, people that are just poor and
but that's why the computers at the public library for that exact issue.
Oh, exactly. And like I said, that's why we kind of say, gee, if you don't really want to have a computer, there are some things that we do for the people that have email, like we do email blasts every now and then when something really important happens, but we don't bother trying to send out new paper copies of the newsletter, because by the time they get it, the thing is over.
Oh, that makes sense. And luckily it's only 10% or so, a little bit more.
Yeah,
so,
not even. Yeah.
But it is super annoying. I can imagine 38 is nothing to laugh at. That's more than a stamp of books. It's almost two books of stamps. And it's a heck of a lot of envelopes to keep track of, and addresses to have to print out. And that's probably going to take at least somebody in a couple hours, at least
a couple hours. Yeah.
An hour to ship them, depending on where it is. And then you got to get that look at the post office, so anyway, that's interesting. So, here's the thing about the newsletter. So again, there's lots of people using internets in different ways, and I would hear you, because I don't seek out newsletters for the most part. I have newsletters for things like the Arizona Citizens Defense League, things that are important, that or maybe things like for Arizona Citizens Defense League, where that's the only way I'm going to get information from them. They're not computer savvy, seeking out ways to communicate electronically and staying in touch with each other and keeping up or taking pictures or documenting anything. They're just not that type, right? So this is the only time you get anything from them. And I would say it's probably way lopsided the other way for them. They're printing out a lot of those, I'm sure. And they're probably happy that a couple of us are accepting them in email. So I'm the same with you guys. I think as far as the way I deal with them, except like I say, I have a few that I subscribe to, but then I have a lot that I subscribe to monitor, I guess, keep a pulse out there, what's going on, and to see what other people are doing, what other projects are happening. and then just to get ideas for my own newsletter. So it's sort of like, because it's a visual and a written medium, and because it costs nothing and it goes through automatically, and it's so easy to deal with filters and stuff. It's something that when I want to, I can skim through them. I can look at titles. One appeals to me, I can click it open, see what the layout looks like if I'm just literally looking for that kind of stuff. If it's something important, I can find the ones that come from the places that are valid. I get things from like some of the important 2A writers where, you know, I wish I had the time to pay attention to every single one of those, but once a month, I sure do, right? On the second, I take time to look at those. So, you know, that's where we get our notes for the show and stuff. So some of these I consider like I monitor the newsletters as not so much, you know, read them start to finish each time. But that's why I think a newsletter is an interesting medium. Again, because it can go to an email, so that means it can go to phones, and because it's archived, it's easily searchable with your email client or your phone or whatever, and can have ultimate linkability to everything else on the internet. You all know what a newsletter is. And I would say I have to disagree with the concept that they're not that they're old-fashioned, only because I keep getting, I have like a couple of places where people can subscribe, and I don't put that much effort out there to let people know there is a newsletter, and I keep getting people on a regular basis subscribing to it. So that just tells me that there's lots and lots of people out there that are interested in seeing a newsletter. And that's sort of one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up, because it might be something that, because you're not interested in them and you're creating content, you might be missing out on people that are interested in it.
No, that's true.
I get
our paradigms.
Yeah, I probably get a couple hundred different newsletters, but probably more than that, honestly, because I'm signed up for pretty much every manufacturer, part maker, stuff like that. And sometimes those manufacturers, like, you'll get relevant to a news, but most of the time it's nothing but just an ad for, you know, a sale or their next product or whatnot. But a lot of times they will have like something, a very relevant story, pro Second Amendment story or news article or something in those, or maybe even a how-to, like how to clean a barrel or, you know, something like that. And but you know, and the ones that I get that are very relevant, that are just strictly real pro 2A and gun rights organizations, those ones, they almost seem like I hate to say it, a lot of at least the ones I'm sub to, I'm not going to say all of them, but the ones that I get, like, a lot of it seems like infomercial. It really does. It seems like, hey, you know, we're fighting for your gun rights, or, you know, 10 cents a day you can feed a starving child to, kind of a thing. And it's not even about like hardly any news stories or pro 2A events or anything like that. It's really just it's just them begging for money. And that's, like I said, that's just the ones I'm sub to. But I get that a lot. I seem to open up an email like, you need to act now, like our rights are so endangered, like guns are going to be gone tomorrow. And you open it up and it's like, yeah, send us $20 and we'll make the anti-gunners go away. Like, that's just, you know, like there's no relevant news story in there. There's no relevant article. There's just nothing in them asking me for money. Unfortunately, not all of them like that. I said it like that, but a lot of the ones I am that are supposed to be real pro 2A groups and stuff, I get that a lot. And that they're not even giving me any kind of content in their newsletter at all. Like, I feel like there's nothing here. I mean, they're not even really trying.
What about like coupons?
Oh yeah. Sometimes there'll be like hidden coupons in a lot of the newsletters, and like you'll read through this whole article or this whole how-to or something, and at the very bottom of the article, I've literally seen it where it's like, oh, and if you're still following us, for you guys who actually read through all this, here's a 20% coupon. I've literally seen that hidden, and I'm like, holy shit, that's awesome. You know, so like they're you know, they're like, that was their way of thanking people who actually read through their whole story or read through their whole thing. So I've seen that a lot.
I've heard that. Do that.
Yeah, and the hidden coupon thing, I think that's really cool. And And yeah, I get a lot of coupons for not only being subscribed to their mailing list, because the mailing list to me is supposed to be different. That's where they're supposed to send me the ads. And the newsletter, that's supposed to be either more pertinent about what the company's doing, new products, Pro 2A stuff. And it's not always like that. A lot of times the newsletters are just nothing but ads. But there are some really good companies out there who, like, they don't advertise in their newsletter at all. They really try and make it all about the Second Amendment, stuff like that. Those are the ones I enjoy reading, or how-tos, how to do something to a gun.
Yeah, when I was doing a newsletter for Tucson Guns, we would try to feature range every week or every month, whenever they did one, twice a month actually. We would do range though, and then we would feature some story about maybe I don't know, something that happened at a CCW class or something like that. We would feature one of the safes or one of the vaults and talk about some of the features of it or why people are buying that one, and then maybe a paragraph or two from the boss about what's going on and what's the future like. And it was usually, well, for a while there, it was just the stuff that was happening in Arizona, concealed carry going through, and then suppressors for hunting and 30-round mags for hunting and shit like that. And I mean, it lets people know that you're aware of what's going on, right, in the community.
Oh yeah, and those are the ones I can appreciate. The ones that actually give us that info, right? That are actually trying to put out like content, right? Like I mean, I can really appreciate that. Or unfortunately, a lot of newsletters have turned into nothing more but than a just an advertisement.
Okay, so we'll move along to today in history, and we missed Makarov yesterday. I guess I should have opened that up already. He died yesterday in 1988. Oh snap! Well, that makes sense. So yeah, he died May 13th, 1988, and he was born in 1914 on May 22nd. So this is a weird month. It's Makarov, right? And the designer of the Makarov pistol, which the month is named after, was both born this month and died this month. So he liked this month a lot, and they named the pistol after him. So we missed that yesterday because it was Sunday. We have a couple of interesting things that happened today, but nothing really all that gun related. Where'd this one go? 1618. Does anybody remember what happened May 15th, 1618?
Mayflower?
No. This is when Johannes Kepler discovered his harmonics law. So Dano, extra credit points. What's the harmonics law of Kepler's harmonics law?
You mean about sum and difference frequencies?
No.
Oh, then I don't know.
It's the law that states the closest planets travel at the greatest speeds and have the shortest orbital periods. Off the top of my head.
Oh, I didn't know that was a harmonic thing. I thought that was a planetary motions thing.
No, I have no idea. Well, that's what it says on it.
So his model of Keplerian motion of the planets.
The War of Spanish Secession began in 1702. No coincidence, no affiliation with that other thing.
Who did they secede from?
The War of Secession. I don't know. 1702, way before my time.
Oh.
I'm just looking for stuff that might have something to do with a gun, I guess. 1942, the United States begins rationing gasoline. That has nothing to do with a gun. 1958, Sputnik 3 is launched by the Soviet Union.
Lewis and Clark departed.
Oh, really? See, I don't have that in mind. That would have been a good one.
Yeah, and they had that multiple shot air powered rifle thing with them.
Yeah, I've seen
that. Was pretty cool.
Now it's at museums. Those are super neat. You've seen them shoot before?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've seen them, but only on like forgotten weapons and stuff.
Were you gonna say that first?
Yeah.
I was gonna say also the convergence of the convention of the delegates for the constitutional thing began today for the American Revolution.
Oh, really?
Yeah, That's where they all basically, I think, begin to assemble and then decided that, like, yeah, we're going to go to war, right? So,
Well, the other day was Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, and the day before that, or whatever, a little bit before that, was the whole British are coming, right? So
yeah.
it all happened. It was all going down. And then we got July, the end of it all, right? Oh, here's one. 1862, the Union ironclad Monitor and the gunboat Galena fire on Confederate troops at someplace in Virginia. That was one of the ironclads, right? Oh, it says right there, ironclad Monitor.
And
Right.
the only I was going to say the only other thing I can think that happened in this day in history is we lost Frank Sinatra.
Oh,
So if you're a Frankie fan, so,
what year was that? It was in the
1998.
All right. Well, to go on to the next segment. We do this show daily. One of the reasons we started doing the show on the daily, Bob was in the notes earlier, so he didn't jump on. But one of the reasons Bob and I started doing the show on the daily was so that we could feature a new gun shop every day. I'm a big fan of gun shops, and I believe that if we forget about our gun shops, they'll go away, and we won't have a super critical resource, both just for the pleasure of shooting and the recreational part of it, and the just the communal aspect of it, but also the strategic aspect of getting ammunition and implements out, distributed from manufacturers through distributors and gun shops out to places. I also think they have a strategic importance in the community, right? Just having a shop like this one on the street face, so people walk past it every day. Well, I guess it's a pawn shop really, but having a gun shop on the street like this, every day people see the gun shop, and it's a lot tougher for the Bloombergs and the others to suggest that it's just the creepy people in the dark alleys that it would even consider wanting a firearm, right? So anyway, for all those reasons, I've been a big fan of firearms or gun shops, been going to them my whole life, and we feature them every day. We're kind of recycling some because I'm not on the road right now. And this one is L&M. This one's a cool shop because it's the shop that's across the street from the big mural. Of course, I should have put the picture of the mural in here. But in Las Vegas, New Mexico, where the movie Red Dawn was filmed. So if you were to stand in this doorway and look out towards the street, you'd see that big lady waving and saying, "Welcome to Calumet," or "Calumet welcomes you," I guess. And this is one of the scenes in the movie. This building would be in a few scenes in the movie when the town was all occupied and stuff. And I think it's the only gun shop in town, or at least the only one I've found. And actually there's a gun shop 2 down that's never been open. And this one is usually closed when I'm there. So I think this is the last time I was there. And it happened to be open. So I went inside and I told them what I was doing on the tour, and I took a couple of pictures. I was trying to be generous with them. Sometimes you have to be kind of skillful with the pictures. It was kind of a barren shop. They didn't have a lot of stuff there. So I took pictures that I tried to be as, make it seem like they've got some stuff there. But it's a little town and a little pawn shop. And I imagine it's not, tons of people running through. I don't know.
That's where you find the best stuff, is in the little pawn shops. So like the most unique, like rare, coolest stuff.
Seriously. And that's the thing. They got the Whittingham Center, which is about an hour or something north of this. And this is the only road between Albuquerque and Denver. So people are driving up and down this road once in a while, right? And this little pawn shop is maybe 10 minutes off the highway. And like you're saying, if there's somebody in this town, which is a decent sized little town, if there's somebody that's, sick of a gun, hard up, got it inherited, traded it, didn't like it anymore, they got sick of that caliber, it's the ex-wife's gun, whatever, they brought it over to this pawn shop, and it's that same Enfield or crazy load and such, or the new caliber, this and that you've been wanting. These are the kind of places to find that kind of thing, right? But they also have a ton of tools, so it's a pawn shop.
Well, and usually good deals too, because they don't have usually a lot of overhead being out on like a main street in a big city and stuff like that. So usually you get better deals at those small pawn shops.
They were certainly friendly, if I remember right. All right, well, so that was our shop of the day. I'm guessing nobody's been to this one. I don't know if anybody out that's watching has been to Las Vegas, New Mexico. I know a couple of people have been through there, but not too many people stop and hang out. All right. Well, with that, we can move on. There's a gun movie. One of the other things we like to hit every day is a movie that has something to do with guns, and most of these are coming again from the suggestions in the email. Boys in the Hood. So have y'all seen this movie?
Probably
No,
20 years
I
ago.
gotta take a Dano and say I've never seen it.
I think Dan will fall asleep. He hasn't been responding to any of my digs on the comments or nothing. He's gone.
I watched it probably about 20 years ago, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it too. I'm sure I've seen it.
It has Ice Cube in it. I know that. And it follows a couple guys. I think it follows like two main guys and their struggles kind of growing up in the hood in Los Angeles, right? And it just kind of like they kind of are each like looking at life through like a different like way, right? Like I think one was trying to make money like doing bad things and the other one was trying to go straight, but they were like childhood friends.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think that was kind of the general gist, if I remember right. Like I said, it's been 20 years, so I don't know. It could be way off.
I'm guessing it's a decent movie, but I don't remember it that good. So
I don't remember a bunch of guns in there. I think I remember like a drive-by or something. I don't know. That's not the kind of gunplay that I usually.
Well, we got it from Monty. Says that's a movie classic. I gotta scroll down here. AK's full auto Mac-10, sawed-off double-barrel shotgun, to name a few. So yeah,
Oh,
most
really?
of the drive-by stuff. It looks like.
Yeah. I just don't remember like a lot of gun handling scenes and stuff. I remember some drive-bys, but like it's been so long. There could have been a lot more guns in it.
I mean, it's just, I watch these and it's like watching a movie about Vietnam. Well, not even, because I have Vietnam stuff, right? Surplus and things. But, I watch some of these movies and it's, it's an alien. I didn't live in that neighborhood. I didn't live in a big city. Certainly didn't live with like gang stuff or whatever. So I watch it and it's all those movies kind of blend together, for me. So,
Yeah.
once in a while there's like a cool scene in a gang movie where somebody will drop like a duffel bag full of guns, or like they'll all grab a bunch of guns out of a trunk or something, like they've done it 1,000 times. And those kind of scenes are interesting because when I see those, you can tell if it's a bunch of actors just grabbing an item, grab prop out of trunk, or if it's like a bunch of dudes that have picked up guns a million times and are just like casually, doing their thing. And then
Yeah, you can definitely tell, right?
so that's kind of interesting sometimes. And I just don't remember if this movie is specifically one of those, or if it's like you just see a revolver a few times and it's literally just a allusion to the gun. It's not like focused on it or anything. All right. Well, since none of us can remember it, are we going to give it any kind of thumbs?
Well, I think it was like a really big hit back then, so I'll probably at least give it one thumbs up. I mean, it was a pretty iconic movie. I know a lot of my friends, like back in the, because I want to say that came out in like the mid '90s or something, a long time ago, and over 25 years ago, right? So it's
91.
yeah. Oh, 91, yeah. See, so I remember a lot of my friends at the time like were really into it and really liked it and stuff. So I know it was an iconic, way popular movie, and even to this day, I think it kind of has a cult following. So I'll definitely at least give it one thumbs up.
Slim is saying that's a thumb up.
Well, if I remember, I think it did kind of have like a good moral kind of. If I remember, if it's the movie I'm thinking of, it did kind of have a good moral ending, kind of a like, or not a good ending, but like a moral to the story, like to kind of. I don't know, maybe sway people from doing bad things. I don't know. I think if I remember right. So I'll give it a thumb up for that.
Well, I'm going to give it one blue thumb up to counteract Dano's red thumb down. Red thumb up. I think he is asleep. He's gone. All right. So thanks for the suggestion. Maybe maybe Angelina's seen it because it's about LA, I think. And, she's lived that life. But and I don't know if Maggie's seen that one or not. That's good.
It's got a lot of good stars from for its time period.
Well, that's the thing. They were probably, if I remember right, not big ass stars back then either. I think Ice Cube was probably the biggest I don't think Cuba Gooding Jr. was a big ass star yet.
No, but Larry Fishburne was, and so
Was Ice Cube even a
Angela
star
Bassett.
when that movie came out, though, or was he just a rapper?
I think
Like,
this
was
might
he like a movie star, or was that his like
it might
was
have
he just a rapper?
been doing movies, right?
Yeah.
Started trying to be a hard ass in movies, and then now he's being like, you know, just a regular actor doing whatever. All right, well, so that's the movie of the day. Every day we try to come up with a gun-related movie. There's going to be some podcasts in there. Since I've been paying more attention to the podcast, I noticed some interesting ones out there, so we'll try to feature some of those. And again, kind of that concept of bringing different types of content creators over to gun channels so that we can, you know, figure out ways to collaborate and get messages out there more efficiently. And in synchronization, I don't know what the right word is, you know, coordination. Talked about a little bit of gun history. We talked about that gun shop, L&M in New Mexico. Rupan is our member of the day. And we talked a bit about newsletters and behind the scenes. Tomorrow is episode 572. On Tuesdays, we do Second Amendment issues. Our topic tomorrow might have been from Cycle Camp. Let me know. Are state bans on hollow point ammo constitutional? Is that one of yours?
It sounds like one.
Right on. So that'll be what we're talking about tomorrow. Join us on that conversation. Of course, we got a gun shop. We have another movie. It's called Guns in USA, Voices of We the People. Anybody seen this one?
No, I haven't.
Go look and see which one we're talking about here. Oh, this is interesting. I don't think I've seen this one. So, oh, it's a podcast. So, duh. I want to sound a movie. So, maybe check it out on iTunes if you're over there. Check out the other gun-related podcasts. Like I say, iTunes is completely dependent on reviews for what it's going to recommend. So if you like stuff over there, then give it a thumb up, give it a comment, and remember that when you're using those platforms, you're you're doing something. You're creating a reason for more gun stuff to exist in the future. Let's see. So we'll talk about all that stuff tomorrow. It is Tuesday, so we'll probably start off with early watch. Knives usually has some kind of lobby, so an open chat. Talk about guns. Anybody can jump into. That'll happen most of the day over on gun channels. In the afternoon or evening, depending on what part of the country you're in. The evening live shows will start up. Tomorrow's Tuesday, so they'll probably start up with, looking at the schedule, Hatfield will have his show first. Then Ghost does his Tactical Tuesday. Hit or Miss, it comes up next, and then Big Gunner does his show after. Then we'll be back here same time, midnight, to wrap up the day and talk about guns. Anybody else? Dead Horse, you got anything coming up?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Shootah 2018. Shootah, this is its third year that Shootah's going on. It's going to be June 9th from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's going to be at the farm training facility where a lot of law enforcement and stuff train down in Fairfield, Utah, which is about like from Provo, it's like a 30-minute drive west of Provo, Utah. And but yeah, this is the third year it's going on. It's like Silencer Co., Amtac suppressors, bunch of different gun shops, holster companies, bow companies, dead air suppressors, bullet making companies, OSS suppressors. I mean, we have a lot of suppressor companies here, obviously. There's going to be a Outlawed Distillery, which makes a great white whiskey, by the way. Lube companies, different oil companies, Ready Gunner. There's going to be guys that you might recognize from Instagram, like the Man Spot and Ready Gunner, and the Black Rifle Coffee Company guys and stuff like that going down there. So there's going to be some Instagram celebrities. There's going to be, just Uinta Precision, Utah Air Guns. I mean, just a whole bunch of people. They're giving away a bunch of suppressors and guns, M&P shields, Ruger 1022, a couple more handguns, an AR-15 rifle, like an entire EDC kit, steel targets. I mean, like last year they gave away so much crap. Like last year they gave away like 5 suppressors and like 5 guns, and just, I mean, if you just showed up last year, you had a really good chance of winning something. And this is an all outdoor event. You're outside, you get to shoot these guns. North American Arms came, had a whole table full of mini revolvers. I got to shoot a bunch of them and take pictures of them and fondle them and hold them. And you get to shoot suppressors, and they'll have 50 BMGs out there and cool old machine guns from World War II, full autos and stuff. And, you know, I mean, it's just a great event. There'll be like little bow shooting for the kids and stuff, like a little kid pit, stuff to keep your kids entertained. There's food. There'll be like food trucks there, catering, stuff like that. So it's just a really cool event, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. And last year, I want to say at least, you know, I don't know, I want to say last year at least like 300 or 400 people showed up. And you know, and this year I expect at least, you know, probably 600 people to show up. So because every year it's almost doubling, it seems, every year in attendance.
So that, I mean, I forgot to talk about the calendar. What dates was that again?
June 9th, and I put it in the events on Gun Channels.
Okay.
And I put a link to it where you can go to the Shootah website and under events on Gun Channels, and Shootah 2018, Fairfield, Utah. I'll be there doing some stuff, and yeah, anyone who knows who I am can hit me up on Instagram or whatever if you're going to be down that way. But last year was an absolute blast. It was great for the whole family. It's really family friendly. We had even people like come that were like, there's a place where you can just go right down the road to and go shoot all you want. Like, I mean, like, so there's basically a range, like, you know, 5 minutes down the road, and you can go over there and shoot too while you're out there. Right? Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's cool. And it sounds like the thing that's worth traveling to. Definitely worth going to Utah.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, we like pretty much every suppressor company in Utah is going to be there, and you have a really good chance of winning a suppressor going. And I'm just like for showing up, because just for showing up and paying the entrance fee. The entrance fee is, I think, $20 per adult. I think kids are only $1 if they're under 18. And you know, so, but the adults are 20, and for that 20, they usually give you like 5 or 10 raffle tickets or something. So like I said, there was people like I won stuff last year, and I didn't even buy any extra raffle tickets. I just got the free ones you get with the admission, and I won like a little kit out there, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, like, you know, there's people. There was a guy last year who walked away with a handgun and a suppressor. He won twice. it was sweet, and he bought like $50 in raffle tickets, and won a suppressor and a handgun.
Yeah, well, like you say, 100 people showing up, you know, it's pretty decent odds, especially when there's more than one, you know, price package.
Almost definitely. And this is sponsored by Utah Shooters, which is a really good organization. A great website. Go check it out. They put on a lot of shooting events and classes and stuff like that. Mostly long range stuff. So for us long range guys who like to stretch our legs.
Right. Well, we'll say thanks to everybody. We had a bunch of people jump in right at the end here. Somebody else's show must have gone off air or something. But thanks again, everyone, for joining us live. That's what it's all about, an effort in the new media, getting information from the bottom up so that people can I don't know, have more to choose from. So thanks you guys for jumping in and joining me tonight. We will be back same time tomorrow.
You want a quote?
Oh yeah, thanks.
Time for a quote. Pick up a rifle and you change instantly from a subject to a citizen. Jeff Cooper.
The guys and gals at websites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.